Today, we are breaking down the Tennessee Titans' entire NFL draft and some UDFAs. I am joined by RBT. Say hi to the people, and we'll jump right in to Cam Ward.
Hi to the people.
Hi to the people. I guess you can find RBT literally everywhere with RBT. Cam Ward. We were talking about this ad nauseum in our mock draft, which if you guys wanted to see that, you can go feel free to check it out. But it happened. It was kind of like up in the air at the time that we were discussing it. And it was like whether it was Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter, Cam Ward. You were doing the whole thing the whole time, which, I mean, I love it. Yes, sir. And, ended up coming to fruition. I know that Dov is now posting about this quarterback battle, but, it's no battle. Ain't no battle. Cam Ward's going to be the leader. And you know what? I am very, very optimistic about it. I ended up growing a lot in terms of my love for Cam Ward while being able to dig into him again and again and again. And you know what? I continued trying to fall in love with him. I did, and I think it's the right move. What were your thoughts on it?
I mean, I think it's 100% the right move. There's a reason the Giants were still trying to trade up for him while the Titans were on the clock. And what they offered was pretty insane. I mean, I'm not sure the truth to it, but I'm pretty sure they offered a first this year, next year, I think 2 seconds, a little bit more. That's insane. That just shows you the conviction that Titans front office and coaching staff had on Cam Ward. So I'm excited. Obviously, the Titans fan, I've talked about him nonstop for months now, so I'm not going to sit here and do that for another 5-10 minutes. But I just think he is the perfect guy at the perfect time for what this franchise needs. Like, it's been a long time coming. We've had a guy we've been this excited about. And I know you have the conversations of he would have been this QB in last year's class. He would have been this QB in next year's class. At this point, dude, who cares? He's a baller. Let's see what he can do in Tennessee. I think he's in a perfect spot. I think he's in a perfect spot where this fan base is going to be patient with him. And I don't think we're going to have to be too patient because I think we're going to see some pretty – I don't think we're going to see like Jaden Daniels type success, but I think he's going to be pretty decent off the rip. But he's just the perfect leader, the perfect guy to lead this franchise right now. And I think Brian Callahan is thanking the Lord right now because I think he's going to be the guy to save his job this season. I think without Cam Ward, the guy's gone by the end of the year. But I think Cam Ward might give him a little bit of wiggle room where he might stick around for that new stadium to open up in 2027. But Cam Ward, 10 out of 10 pick. And I'm not going to give away too much just yet. But with Cam Ward as the pick, that just sets the standard for this, like the grade. My grade for a class like a B. The worst they could have done, even if they got 7-8 straight what I thought was UDFAs, it would have been a B regardless. But that's how much I like the pick. But I won't spoil too much. But the Cam Ward pick, phenomenal.
I love it. And yeah, I mean, obviously we're going to be breaking down every single pick in this video. And we're even going to talk about some awesome UDFAs, which I have over on the side of the screen because you guys had a really good class as well. Honestly, one of the dark horses for me, small tangent into fantasy, is being able to see Chig Okonkwo being used like Elijah Arroyo was at Miami. I love the fact that it's so synonymous with the exact type of play style. And so I'm an owner of him in Dynasty. I am super excited for that. Let's jump into the next pick, though, which was a trade.
Comment on that really fast?
Go for it.
I know we'll get to Gunnar in a minute.
Yeah.
It really interested me, though, that pick. I did not think tight end was anywhere near the realm of possibility. And I don't think Gunnar Helm is picked to, be tight end. I mean, he's going to be tight end off the rip. But Chig has an expiring contract. So I'm wondering if this is the long-term Chig replacement. I'm wondering if that pick sets in stone that maybe they're not thinking about extending Chig, which I like Chig. I wouldn't mind bringing him back on a 2-3 year deal. But that pick kind of got that in my head. Is Chig not in the long-term plans?
Okay. I mean, we'll obviously see. I honestly love the idea when you're spending day 3 picks at positions where you have those 1-year contracts. It is almost either a redundancy problem to where if it doesn't work out, you have your option. But also, I love it in terms of motivation because your successor's already in the building. Get your head and ass wired together. You might get a contract, you might not. We'll still talk about Gunnar Helm in a second, but I really want to talk about Oluafemi Oladejo, who is fantastic. He was one of the guys who I loved seeing him grow so much over the year, first year edge rusher, but clips are coming out. It's exciting to see him as that, leader already as of the young guys, and you got a 3rd round pick out of it. But what were your thoughts on the trade? Was there someone that you really wanted at 35, or are you happy with how the trade ended up working out?
I mean, I have mixed opinions on it, really, because, there was multiple guys I wanted 35, Luther Burden, for one. Mike Green too, but obviously there's some stuff that happened there. I don't think anybody expected him to fall as far as he did.
Yeah.
But I think we all expected a trade back. I think this had been in the works for a really long time. Mike Borgonzi had said for a long time he wanted at least 3 picks in the top 100. We didn't have a 3rd round pick because of the L'Jarius Sneed trade from a year ago. So I was pretty convinced the entire time that we're going to trade back. With Donovan Ezeraiku on the board still, I was kind of like hoping maybe we could have gone with him. Where did he end up going again?
Dallas at 44.
Dallas at 44. So like either Luther Burden or Ezeraiku I would have been ecstatic with. So I wouldn't have been mad at not getting the extra top 100 pick and sticking there. But at the end of the day, I think that's what they wanted to do all along. And when it comes to 52, Oladejo, like he's really grown on me. When they made the pick, I'd seen they'd done multiple Zooms with them. They brought him in for a 30 visit, so the interest was obvious. Again, there was like a lot of other edge rushers I had preferred over him. Yeah. But like obviously doing more of a deep dive after they selected him, seeing the clips coming out of like I think he kind of epitomizes exactly what they want to do in this draft class is get locker room guys that can really set the culture, because we at this point in time really don't have the greatest of locker rooms. And there's a lot of talk of a lot of guys being off the board because they wanted guys that loved football. And it's definitely a different, interesting, like now with NIL, like there's been a lot of guys that, they've made their money. They don't have that drive. And that's what they strayed away from. I think they literally had a category, does not love football. And if that was the case, took them off the board immediately, no matter how talented they were. So I think he's the perfect culture guy. I really like his upside. I didn't realize until I did the deep dive that he's only played edge for like a half a season. I think he was an inside backer until week 5, week 6. Yeah. And like seeing him practice, dude, he's a freaking grown man. Like I don't know what type of production we're gonna get as a rookie. And what scares me is the fact that we still have like the worst edge room in the NFL right now. I was really, really hoping we were going to double up on edge, and we'll talk about that a little bit later with some of the guys we could have gotten later.
Right.
So I was kind of disappointed at first because edge being such a big need, and a guy that's like very, very raw. Again, has only played edge for 8 weeks last year. So that was kind of disappointing off the get-go, but I really, really, after doing the deep dive, I love his upside. I think he is the perfect fit in the locker room. And I mean, even though he's only played edge for not even a full season, he's going to come in as our best edge rusher day one. So I think he's another guy that we're going to be patient with, but I do 100% understand the pick. Like the pick now, looking back, and probably if we're giving a grade, I'll give it like a B+, possibly.
Okay.
One of the players that this really, I was really hoping we were going to take him at 52. We were talking beforehand, and the guy that I think the coaching staff really, really wanted, and I think they were kind of hoping and praying he's going to fall to 82. Kyle Williams.
Yeah.
Kyle Williams. They were massive Kyle Williams fan. Again, probably a 30 visit, multiple Zoom meetings. Interest was there. Cam Ward's former number 1 receiver at Washington State. I think they wanted him badly. And it was at this point, it was like, do you want to go ahead and kind of reach on Kyle Williams? There was a lot of talk of them maybe reach on Kyle Williams at 35, not going back. But I'd rather this scenario than reaching on Kyle Williams 35. I think Kyle Williams can be phenomenal for the Patriots. Yes. That's the guy I kind of was a little disappointed. Maybe even Trey Harris, not getting him at 52. But at the end of the day, I really like the way things worked out.
Yeah, I think you said a
big Femi fan.
Yeah, dude, Femi's gonna make you excited, man. I would say like he almost is almost a little bit too vocal, but you said it perfectly. In the edge core that you have right now, there's not someone who's vocal enough, not someone who's a leader enough. So lock in edge probably with your top pick in the next draft. But Femi, the thing that I love about him the most, I'm sure you saw this as well, he is such a good run defender. Like he's a linebacker. He knows how to play the run. He knows how to process what's going on. A lot of edge rushers. Like I ended up having BJ Green on the show. He's a Jacksonville Jaguars UDFA. He was talking about how coaches are saying, hey, if you're on the defensive line, don't think, go. Linebackers aren't taught to do that. They're like, you need to understand what the hell is going on. You get out of position, the whole entire play is screwed. So I love that he takes that mental processing to the line of scrimmage, and then you've seen him grow so much. And you saw it with me in Mobile. No one thought of this guy as going to be someone who could actually challenge in one-on-ones. This dude was a baller in one-on-ones. Everyone's like,
2 sacks in the Senior Bowl, I believe.
yeah, I think he might have. I'm forgetting off the top of my head what his actual Senior Bowl stats were, but I just remember thinking, oh, wow, Ezra Rocco had a good rep there. It's like, no, that's a UCLA helmet. Like, what the hell? So that's why I'm a huge fan of it, even though Femi, in terms of the talent day one grade, was not close to 52 for me. I just know, looking at the progression, looking at where he's going, I'm such a huge fan. And then part of that deal, you got Kevin Winston Jr., which a lot of people had as high as safety 1 or 2 for them. I did not. But, I mean, injury year kind of sucks. Ended up having, I think he was, 0% missed tackle rate in 2023, which is hype.
He's an elite tackler.
Right. He's great.
It's insane. It's just the ACL is a little worrisome.
Right. And I mean, at 82, that's acceptable. You're getting a legitimate fringe first round quality player. Some people say guaranteed first round quality talent. And you're getting that at 82 because of that ACL injury tax. And that's worth the swing. So I'm a huge fan of that. I don't know if there's anything else you want to dig into with Kevin Winston. But
I do know, I believe it was Borgonzi I heard say that based on his 2023 tape, they would have had him as a early second round safety.
Right.
So again, it's just a little worrisome as a Titans fan with what we've gone through drafting injured players like Caleb Farley. First one comes to the head, goes to my mind.
Breaks my heart.
There's been a few more as well. But I mean, again, this is another pick. It's just like I'm going into this as a fan with my mindset on certain positions that we just need to dig deep on, and they just really stuck to their philosophy of going number 1 on their board, regardless of positional need. In a team like the Titans that have so many needs, it's not necessarily the worst, worst philosophy when it comes, the draft. Yeah. And again, another pick that like off the get-go, I was like, man, like we need wide receivers so bad at this point. Again, there's a lot of edge at this point too. That I was like, again, I felt like we need to double up on edge, especially with how raw Femi is. Yeah. But again, it's another pick that's really, really grown on me since the draft. He's still not healthy enough to participate in rookie minicamp. He was there, just didn't participate. So he's a guy that, like, I really could, a year or two down the line, see as like, man, this was a 10 out of 10 pick. Because outside of Amani Hooker, safety situation is kind of sketchy. Tennessee, we signed Xavier Woods, but it's kind of just like a stopgap player. So potential long-term option at safety at 82, I mean, can't really beat that as long as he can get back healthy, which there's no sign saying he's not. Right. So, again, top player on the board, and that's not the pick I had so much issue with versus 103. 103 kind of blew my mind, that's for sure.
You can transition into it. Let's talk about Chim DK.
Yeah. He's an athletic freak. He's one of the guys, RAS scores off the charts. I think he ran a 4. Was it 4.3? Was it a 4? It wasn't.
It was in the 4.3s.
Was it?
Yeah, it was in the 4.3s.
4.32, 4.37.
Yeah.
Very raw, though. Came from Wisconsin. Was pretty good last year at Florida. But what's really funny about this is with how things ended up, I'm okay. Because I was sitting there hoping, I believe, was it Jalen Noel that was on the board at that point? That was really
no. He was taken, I believe, in the 3rd by the Texans to pair up with Higgins. It's a 4.34, by the way. So it's still
I'm thinking of Jalen. I'm thinking of Utah State receiver.
Royals.
Royals. Sorry.
Royals. Yeah.
Ended up going to Kansas City Chiefs. He was on the board. Really, really wanted him. Also, really wanted that receiver from Stanford.
But
we'll
talk about him.
Funny. Yeah, because Elic, it's like, if you would have told me at the end of the draft that like we got Elic at 103 and Chim at 136, I'd have been fine with it. So I guess at the end of the day, getting them both, it's like whatever. I don't know. I just feel like I don't really know how I feel about Chim long term. I'm wondering if they project him as our punt returner. A punt returner has been, oh my God, it's been a disaster. God, I can't even think off the top of my head who was the last reliable punt returner we had back there. It's been a position we've not been able to nail down for the last 3 years. We drafted Jaquan Jackson last year to be our returner, and he just wasn't the greatest. So I'm wondering if that's kind of where they're going with that. But I guess they're just looking. I mean, can't really be too upset at drafting a receiver that's had decent production in the SEC that runs 4.3 40. But
This is
again,
true.
it's another one of those picks where, honestly, probably my that's tough. Probably my second least favorite pick of the draft. Maybe you can prove me wrong. I just don't see him being like a consistent producer.
Yeah.
I can see him being a deep threat,
Yeah.
kind of like I'm not sure if you remember Khalif Raymond.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of, I don't think Khalif Raymond was as much of an athlete as Chim is.
I can see the role being similar in the
The role
impact.
being similar,
Yeah.
but it's not a consistent 4 or 5 catch a game type guy, which is kind of what we
Right.
really need right now.
Yeah.
But maybe the other guy we got could turn into that. We'll get to him in a second.
Oh yeah. I mean, I gave Chim DK, like I have my list here of my instant reactions for the draft. That's also pulling up. And I gave it a C plus. I thought it was a bit of a reach. And then again, that's why we take this time to have a gut reaction. And then when you look back and you're like, okay, we got Ayomanor later in the draft at 136. It's like you can play like mental, like you can go through some mental hoops of trying to like switch the two and just kind of be like, okay, well, you know what? If you ended up being at 136 and 103 and coming away with both, it's a little bit of an easier pill to swallow. But Chim was a great guy. I got to talk to him in Mobile, and again, dynamic receiver, SEC. Even when I think they had like a Harvard walk-on as well at Florida, like even when that was the case, he still ended up being the most reliable target on the field. So I love when all hell breaks loose, a wide receiver still is trusted. And I don't know if he's actually going to carve out legitimate reps. I think that if Ayomanor's knee remains like A-okay, then we'll be seeing him be a bigger impact. But
yeah, and what's funny too is I just said I would have been happy with Elic at 103.
right.
Also, wouldn't have been too upset, at Xavier Restrepo at 103. And
Yep.
again, landed him as a UDFA. I mean, I
Yep.
know he ran what was it, a 4.8, 4.9 40, which is
Yeah, it was 4.8. Yeah, it's
I
like
think a lot of that might have had. I mean, obviously, I don't think he's a 4.4, 4.5 guy necessarily, but I do know the day he ran that 40-yard dash, he pulled his hamstring early on. And I do like the mentality of a guy that instead of just not running the 40, he's like, man, like I'm running this 40-yard dash. Like I'm doing this regardless.
right.
Which, looking back, maybe not the best financial decision because I think if he doesn't run that 40, he probably gets drafted at least around 5, 6.
Right.
But making that decision, maybe we'll make him money down the line because he got to pair up with Cam Ward. Maybe it's the perfect spot for him. But that's again it's just funny because again, like 2 receivers that have been perfectly fine with it 103, we end up getting anyway. So like at the end of the day, no damage done.
Right. And I mean, that's a lesson when it's fun to have these live reactions because I mean, you can't see the future. So it is like you have to like react in the moment and be like, why didn't you take this? Why didn't you take that? Very similar with the Eagles not drafting Cam Williams for like 1 billion picks. And then all of a sudden they take him super late. It's like, what the hell?
Yep.
It's what you end up getting in totality that truly matters. And you guys did it. And again, we'll be talking about Xavier Restrepo soon. And I'm just like, honestly, between you and me, I think because they couldn't get Kyle Williams, they got Kyle Williams from Wish, essentially, with Restrepo. I mean, Restrepo's damn good, though. I mean, if you looked at the charts, and again, we'll go over this in a little bit, every route except for the vertical routes, he ends up running like the 80th to 90th percentile in terms of speed. Like the dude's dynamic as hell.
Yeah.
I'm not worried.
Game speed. Obviously not breakaway, not going to be able to break away from NFL defenders type speed.
Right.
But it's just the ball player. I mean, we'll talk about him more. But I mean, think about the receivers that have gone through Miami over the last 30, 40 years, and to be the one that has broken every single one of those career records, you got to have a little something to you. I mean, like, I know there's a lot that goes into it, but I think production matters at the end of the day. If you're able to produce, especially at a level like Miami, I know it's not SEC, I know it's not Big Ten, but still, big-time college football, if you become statistically speaking, the greatest receiver in school history, you gotta be pretty good. You gotta be a ball player. So I'm excited. I think he makes the team for sure, but we'll talk about it more in a minute.
Oh yeah, I know. It's you and I are so like very tangential. Like we like to go on just a little bit. We'll taste a little bit of a topic, but I know it's like I'm itching to talk about Ayomanor as well. But let's just quickly talk about Gunnar Helm. We highlighted it a little bit earlier. It was pick 120. I know he had that ankle issue at the combine. This was one of my least favorite picks for the team. I know a lot of people loved him, and I know he's a great locker room guy. That's what I really love is that people around him love him. And that's someone who I want as a tight end 2, a tight end 3 on my team. I didn't see tight end 1. I saw him like definitely into that tight end 3 with the upside for a tight end 2 territory, but I also was a little bit lower. And I do like the fact that this puts a fire underneath Chig's ass in a final year. And I love when players really try their best when money's on the line and when your replacement is in the building. So I think that this was a perfectly fine pick. It's understandable. And again, with the way that I ended up seeing how this draft class fell and ended up being completed, I'm trusting the vision more than what I did in the moment.
Yeah, I wonder if this is kind of an indication of Callahan wanting to go towards more 2 tight end sets, because I don't think, I know I said that, made that comment about Chig earlier. Like, I think him and Chig are kind of 2 completely different players.
Right.
I think this is more of, I'm not sure if you even know who Josh Wiley is.
He's one of my favorite guys from Cincinnati.
Yeah, I think this is more of an indication of like, I think Josh Wiley is kind of done. I just thought it a little bit interesting that they made a pick here in the tight end, at the tight end position that they didn't really need, and they have some other massive needs. When Chig is in the last year of his contract, edge, absolutely. There's a pick that I'll talk about in a minute that there was somebody sitting there that I just blows my mind that they didn't go after him. But anyways, interesting player, a yak guy, not the greatest athlete. Seeing him like in his initial like press conferences, I kind of like it kind of he really has a frame that he can build upon. Like I don't think he's in his final form yet in terms of like physicality. Like I think he can put on a solid 10, 15, maybe even 20 pounds, probably a little bit crazy. But I think he easily put on 10, 15 pounds, and he could be a physical specimen. Not the greatest athlete, but kind of the same as like the rest of the kind of weapons we got, like real big yak guys, you know. Maybe Chim a little bit better of an athlete than the rest of them.
Sure.
But and I think Travis Hunter has nightmares about the yak ability of the guy we're going to talk about in a minute. But a really good yak tight end, can get better as a blocker. Again, another one of those picks. There's a lot of the picks in this draft that I just really confused, like an instant reaction. But again, looking back, I mean, obviously the top guy on the board. And really interested to see if this indicates a little bit more 2 tight end set action this year. We see from Brian Callahan.
Yeah.
And again, like Kim Moore likes the guys with the yak ability. Elijah Roro was a pretty decent target of his at Miami. I'm not really sure if Gunnar Helm can be Elijah Roro, but you kind of mix him and Chigakonkwo together. He has a little nice safety valve there at tight end.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, the thing is, so quick tangent back to Josh Wiley. He was, when I was first at SMU, that was when Ritter and Wiley were just an absolute dynamic duo. I thought that Wiley was actually going to end up being a good tight end too. Sucks that it looks like it's going to start to close the book on that being a dream, but I just still remember seeing Ritter rip off like a 90-yard run versus SMU, and then just seeing Wiley be just consistently always doing a good job, more than maybe what the stats said. So we'll see what happens there. I don't know if you have a love for him.
No, Josh Wiley got off to a bad start with Titans fans. Not any fault of his. We needed a wide receiver really, really bad I forget, was it 2023 he was drafted, I believe? We need a wide receiver desperately. Yeah. And Mike Vrabel, Rain Carthon trolled everybody because everybody was expecting wide receiver, and they draft Josh Wiley, and they all look at the camera and like wave like a trolling. They're all 100% trolling. They know that everybody wanted a wide receiver. So everybody was mad at the pick off the get-go. He's had some flashes, absolutely, but it just hasn't been consistent. Right. I think he's gonna make the team as tight end 3. I just don't think think we're gonna see much. Right. You know, he's a nice depth guy to have, like if Helm or Jake goes down throughout the season. Yeah. But really, this might not be something, this is like deep Titans lore that you have to understand here. We kept I think I could be wrong. I think we kept 5 tight ends last year on the final roster. Yeah. And very raw, like 2 UDFAs. One was the what's it called? The he's from another country, the international player. Oh yeah, the international guys. Yeah, he's a massive, like he's a physical specimen. But this pick makes that decision to keep that many tight ends really confusing, because it's like if you really felt that strongly about those guys, to keep 5 tight ends on the roster where did this come from? But
Sure.
again, I think it just plays into the whole point of like top guy on their board, and they stay true to the board all draft long. I
Right.
mean, I'm excited to watch them though. It's just another one of those picks that's just confused, but it's fine.
Right. It didn't feel like it was the fairy tale pick at 120, similar to Chim at 103. But I
Yeah,
think we'll agree.
I really do like some of the things I've heard from him, though. Like you said,
Yeah.
really good locker room guy. He
Right.
already stated this is going to be the draft class of leaders,
Yeah.
and that is music to my ears because that's what this team needs 100%.
Right. Right.
Locker room guys.
I agree. And it's always, I mean, as a Steelers fan, I know what happens when you don't have that. But let's go on to actually a fairy tale pick, which was 136 with Ayomanor, which, I mean, first off, the value of the pick on itself, incredible, right? I mean, obviously, this is for medicals more than anything. Maybe there's just a little bit of a question as to how long Elic can end up playing in the NFL. Maybe he'll just be a one contract guy. Maybe he'll be a short-term second contract guy. I always say if you're in the day 3 and your issue is how long they can be on your team, it's a pretty damn good problem to have. But the icing on the cake, this dude absolutely embarrassed the number 2 overall pick when he ended up going toe to toe versus Travis Hunter and just lit him up. I think he had over almost 300 yards that game total.
280 maybe.
Yeah, like nearly
Two,
300
touchdowns.
Yeah, ridiculous.
It's so funny. Like I obviously don't think they take him here because the Jags drafted
Right.
Travis Hunter, but at the same time, that had to be in the back of their mind. All right, if Travis Hunter is going to be covering our receivers for the next 10 years potentially, might as well draft a guy that he could not cover. So very happy with the pick, man.
Yeah.
Another true outside receiver, physical, can high point the football. Obviously has yak ability as he showed even for a big guy. I don't remember what he ran. Do you remember? It was like 4.5. Might even have been like 4.47 or something.
I'm looking it up right now, but what I ended up
he's very good athlete for his size. And we just needed another true outside receiver on the team, other side of Calvin Ridley, dude. And I think it's a perfect pick, and potentially with Calvin Ridley only having another year on his deal, I believe. Maybe he has 2 years left. Perfect potential Calvin Ridley replacement. Once Calvin is going on 31, and Cam Ward, like first guy to come out of his mouth, first interview Cam Ward does after rookie mini camp, talking about how good he performed, how much he impressed them. So I think that's gonna be a really, really good connection.
Yeah, 4.44 by the way, which is incredible. I mean,
with his size, that is nuts.
Yeah.
Like, do you know? I did see the reason he fell was because of medicals. But do you know what the specific issue is? I don't think I've ever seen
his knee ended up turning to absolute goo as a true freshman. I mean, I think it was like ACL, LCL, might have been meniscus as well.
So he missed the whole season.
It was really bad. It was an extremely bad injury.
Well, that doesn't really worry me so much, considering how he's came back from that. I mean, I know things can deteriorate over time.
Yeah.
But that would worry me more if he didn't come back as strong as he did. Like if on a once gooey knee can put up 280 yards against the eventual Heisman winner, welcome to Tennessee, brother. Come on.
I know. I mean, I don't understand it myself. That's why I call it a fairy tale pick. I mean, the thing that I love about him, even though he ran a 4.44, you can tell on some of these reps, because the 40 is pretty much a form times athleticism drill. There were some reps where I'm like, wanted a little bit more speed from him on this rep. And it's like, oh man, is he going to be in the 4.5s? And then you just see this wide receiver out of the blue. You just kind of relax a little bit. And then you just see this receiver go fucking flying, just zooming past players. So who the hell is that? I need to rewind. And I'm like, that's the same guy? What the hell? And it's the tempo of the offense, man. But it's holy crap.
I was very disappointed in the fact that he didn't perform at the Senior Bowl, which
I know.
Which, if he participated in the Senior Bowl, he very well might have gone top 100. So maybe it was a good thing in hindsight for the Titans, at least. Maybe not for his rookie contract numbers. But I'm very out of all the picks, obviously outside of Cam Ward, I think. Yeah. And I think the fan base is in consensus with me on this. Probably the most exciting pick that we made. And I know two completely different players in play style at receiver. But this gives me vibes of Amon St. Brown. Everybody kept passing up on him over and over again, and somebody takes a shot in the was he fifth round, fourth round, St. Brown?
I thought for some reason I thought St. Brown was a 3rd round pick, but keep talking while I'm just doing I'm doing the analysis right now. I'm like, might as well.
So much goes on in my brain. I can't remember, but I vividly remember Titans traded up for receiver that year when we desperately needed a receiver. Totally expected him. St. Brown, 4th round.
Yeah,
we traded up for Dez Fitzpatrick. And that is one of the picks that haunts me the most. I totally thought when that happened that we were going after St. Brown, and he turned out pretty well. But that just gives me kind of same vibes. It's just like, how did a guy like this fall to the 4th round? I know it might not have been like really in the realm of possibility, but there was a lot of people talking about him being a potential late 1st round, at latest mid-2nd round pick. So for a guy of that potential value, I'll fall this far. And the thing is, too, he could have produced so much better in college if he had a better quarterback situation. Quarterback situation, Ashton Daniels at Stanford, not good. I don't remember the chart it was I saw. I was talking about like quarterback production versus like
wide receiver,
and his was like the worst because of the quarterback position out of any receivers in his draft class.
Yeah,
basically to say, if this guy had a better quarterback play throughout his years in college, probably also would have maybe turned into a second. The fact, even with the production he put up and the numbers he's put up, how did he fall past 100? It's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. I mean, he ended up apparently tearing his ACL, MCL, and meniscus. So it's not LCL, it's MCL. But I mean, even with that, unless you're saying the medicals say, which with him being drafted in the 4th round, this is not the case. If he had like a 3-year lifespan in the NFL, if he had a 3-year lifespan, he's going UDFA. That's you're not going to give a 4-year contract to someone, or even like a 3-year contract to someone who can barely play 3 years. It's just like, it's pretty obvious. They probably said, okay, this guy can probably play 5 years. Maybe he needs some knee cleaning done in a couple years. That's still worth it. I mean, the amount of injuries that happen. And I mean, hell, Kevin Winston at 82 is honestly more of a scare for me than Ayomanor at this point. But let's talk about Jackson Slater, who we both got to see in person there in Mobile. And I mean, it was just one of those guys, again, very similar to Femi Oladejo. It's like, who the hell's this guy in the green helmet? Like, what? Like, this guy's actually kind of doing pretty well. And especially when you put it in the context of the players he was going against, like one of the most stacked defensive interior groups in the Senior Bowl's history. It was ridiculous to see him actually hold his ground. And my opinion, he does have a legitimate chance of competing for that right guard spot next year.
Yep, that's exactly, you took the words out of my mouth. He love to see it. Sacramento State guy had plenty of offers to enter in the portal, and his answer was, I really like my offensive line coach. I mean, he got me to this point. I want to stick it through with him. I feel like he's made me a better player, and it got him drafted.
Yeah,
and he like you said, I think he is the perfect Kevin Zeitler replacement. I think he will probably be more than likely the starting right guard in 2026. He even could play center, depending on how Louis Cushenberry comes back from injury. I don't know if he's going to be ready for training camp or not. But very good, very versatile player. Like I said, could play guard, play center. They're just very like if you get potential starter value in the 5th round, sign me up. Kind of actually, part of me is kind of hoping Kevin stays around for maybe another year or so after, because I think he's going to be a perfect fit in our offensive line. But I know he's 36, going on 37, I believe.
Yeah.
So maybe he is a one and done type player. But if he is, Jackson Slater, we wanted a developmental offensive lineman. Kind of again surprised. That's another position I thought we were going to maybe double dip at offensive line. But I think Jackson Slater is perfect. I think Brian Callahan's father is going to have a field day with him. Again, this is probably, out of not counting Cam Moore, probably my second favorite pick, honestly. Very, very, very good value. It was a roller coaster this draft. Like, loved the pick, a few picks in a row that I didn't like. And then I was, man, this is just drafting up being terrible. Then 2 or 3 picks in a row that I really, really like. Okay, we're back. And then some garbage, some garbage. coming up
let's
in a second.
let's get closer to that garbage. Not garbage in my opinion is Marcus Harris. Maybe you have a different opinion of him, but for me, I honestly thought it was a bit early for Marcus. There's some other defensive players on the board that I liked. I mean, looking at the players who went right after 183, I mean, you still had, in my opinion, you could have gotten some extra running back depth here in like Devin Neal. I mean, there's Jalen Reed as well. You could pair him up with Kevin Winston. That's just like kind of something that I love that storyline for. But regardless, still that Cal secondary. I mean, they were just unbelievable the entire time that they were on the field. They were menaces. Like, I don't understand how, but every time Cal was in the game, there was never a time where they were not. So, good value betting on a program a little bit more than the exact prospect, but it's a good floor to have maybe for somebody to be depth, if not practice squad.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Marcus Harris is my least favorite pick of the entire draft.
Ooh, okay.
More so of like who they could have got at this point in the draft, and like DB is just, again, I know we're not drafting for need at the point where we are as a franchise. So, I mean, you can't fault them for taking top guy on their board, but I'm just like, man, there becomes a point, like you said, Devin Neal. I feel like taking Devin Neal here than having to go somebody else at 188, when you probably could have got Marcus Harris at 188 regardless. Like, I'm not a huge hater of the Mullings pick, but pretty big difference in between in terms of talent, in my opinion, between him and Devin Neal. So that kind of ruins pick a little bit for me. There's a few edge at this point that I feel like would have been incredible value at this point. I'm sitting here looking. Taj Brooks as well. I think I would prefer Taj Brooks to Mullings, to be honest with you.
I agree.
Boise State edge. Really liked him.
Ahmed, yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to try to butcher his last name. It's just one of those.
Hassanin. First Egyptian drafted, by the way.
Dude, he's a great story. Great story. Absolutely amazing story. Him, I would have liked Chase Lunt. That I cannot believe the Bills got him. Was a big fan of him. And the guy I cannot believe the landing spot he got. Antoine Powell-Ryland from Virginia Tech. How did he end up with the Eagles at the end of the freaking, was it the seventh or the sixth round? Yeah, that's just not that's not fair. Not fair. Like who keeps letting them get away with this? That's a pick. That's the one I was alluding to earlier. It's like, Ed, we have the worst edge room still in the NFL. I don't even think it's remotely close. So you have a guy with that much potential in the 6th round, and you take Marcus Harris over him. Like,
I get that.
Please, brother. That was like my biggest miss. And again, like, you never know what it could be. Like I said, like their biggest focus points in this draft was getting guys that loved the sport of football, not just playing on Sundays. What they said, guys that enjoy the process from Monday to Friday, love practicing. So again, it might be one of those things they didn't like character. I don't know. I mean, I'm just throwing stuff out there. Sure. That's just like, God, that just seemed like for how big of a need it is. I just cannot believe we passed up a guy like that for. Marcus Harris again turned to a good depth piece. We do need cornerback depth after getting rid of Awuzie. That was kind of weird to me. Yeah. But and we did need cornerback depth, which is probably a big reason why I think we signed 3 or 4 UDFAs at the cornerback position. But if you're going to do that, why spend the pick on DB? I don't know. Maybe it turns out good. I actually have somebody that I follow that played football with him at Idaho, I believe. And he said he was a stand-up leader of that team. So you love to hear that. Again, this is one of those things where I could 3 years down the line be like, I was a moron for not liking this pick. How in the world I wanted Antoine Powell-Ryland over him? But what I do is wait and see. I'm not going to be too aggravated over a 6th-round pick, but still, I feel like we need to edge badly. Just kind of questionable.
I mean, I completely agree. It's just like I ended up seeing Antoine Powell-Ryland, who was a top 100 player on my board. I mean, the dude had 16 sacks this year. I mean, he was lighting it up, even though he has 30-inch arms.
Second,
the guy makes it work.
I believe. Second college football behind Mike Green.
Yep, behind Mike Green, who I think had 17.5. It was insane. But you know what? APR went to the right spot. I do think that I would have loved to see him on the Titans. I think it might have been one of my top 3 fits for him in my last edge rushing video. But I mean, just looking at the guys as well, and you want to talk about potentially developing some offensive tackle, you want some tackle redundancy. You got a Johnny Cornelius there, who also, in my opinion, would have been actually a really good guard.
That was another one. That was another
Yeah.
one I had. I was trying to refresh my memory of some of the players that were still there.
I'm just like straight up scrolling through all these
So,
guys.
so am I. I mean, it's been a month and a half. Like,
Yeah.
if you had asked me to do this the day after, maybe I would have been sharper.
Right. No, I mean, that's honestly the fun of this is that we have time to reminisce, but it also is time for us to forget. But regardless, we'll just loop Khalil Mullings in here. I know that you're a bigger fan of him than I am. For me, he's a bruising back, former linebacker. I love that about it too. It's cool to be able to have those position changes in your whole entire locker room because, I mean, first off, that's a dog mentality at a position that needs it. But for me, I'm a Kyle Monangai guy. Like, if I'm going for the bruise, I want the bruise. So that's where
I'm excited to see how he does for the Bears.
I know.
But again, it is exactly what we needed.
Right.
Behind Pollard and Spears, we needed that big bruiser. Like if Tony Pollard goes down, I don't know if Tajay can take 15, 20 carries a game. Talk about somebody with like knee issues.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. How do you not have an ACL? Like how does that did you hear that whole story? Like Tajay Spears got drafted, and according to reports, you don't have an how do you not have an ACL like that? How does that happen? It's
crazy.
Move an ACL like you repair that weird.
Yeah,
maybe I'm just an idiot for not knowing how you exist without an ACL in your knee. But like, I don't know. So the whole point was I don't know if he's a guy that can pick up 15 carries a game if Tony Pollard goes down for some reason, which he was kind of banged up down the stretch last year. Tony Pollard was. So Khalil Mullings being perfect guy, not gonna give you much through the air, not really a 3-down back. Maybe he's a bruiser, potential good goal line back. Not really sure you see him like ever become like number 1 featured back, but a good. Exactly what we needed in the backfield. Again, there were some other options I would have rather preferred that could have given us exactly what he will, plus a little bit more. Maybe Devin Neal, like I said. Big fan of your boy that you just mentioned. Yeah, I tried to avoid pronouncing some of the last names that they're a little dodgy, because sometimes my brain does just not work.
It happens to the best of us.
But it's just one of those picks that like you just have to wait and see. It's not to get too fussed about pick 188.
Right. It's just we're always like, what could have been?
Yeah, especially when it does fill a position like a need on the team.
Sure, definitely. I mean, that's why I was like, damn. When I saw that, I was like, oh man, it's just I had my heart set on a couple other ones, but you ended up having a good draft. The best part, in my opinion, were some of the guys you got after. And we already hinted at it. The guys who ended up standing out to me, actually, I'll toss in Micah Bernard into that equation. He was fun. I believe he was Utah back. Like he had some really eye-popping games and, ended up fading a little bit. But Restrepo popped out to me. Horsley from Boston College, the defensive interior. He was fun to see in Dallas at the Shrine Bowl. Like definitely a good guy who I think can try to make a push definitely for that practice squad. But there's 2 players who I think have a lot of underrated talent, and it's David Gbenda, like really solid. Yeah, the linebacker out of Texas. Yeah, he ended up actually being called out by Femi in like the video that the Titans posted about him. But he ended up having a great lurk on Will Howard, and if I'm not mistaken, he's just someone who pops. It had very limited experience that ended up translating, but he was a fun player to watch, and he caught my eye before I ever knew about him in the draft class. The other name I'd like to mention is Jermari Harris. Now,
the DB from Iowa.
Yeah.
I'm more excited about him than Marcus Harris. Like, I think he has a better shot to fill that depth spot at the cornerback position we lost from Shinobi.
Right. Yes, I agree. I agree heavily.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
I'm trying to Desmond Evans, another guy from North Carolina. Very, very excited about big boy. And like I said, like with how bad our edge room is, like he can make the team,
Yep.
Another one, Braden Crenshaw Dixon.
Yep.
Big boy out of Florida. Like I
Long
said,
arms.
I was surprised we didn't take a tackle because
Mm,
they're all about. We really want somebody who can develop for 2-3 years, and I think
right.
he is the perfect guy to sit back and develop for a little while. Um, you touched on the two names that I'm really excited about, or three names.
Well,
Um,
Jamari before I've had my run-ins with Jamari. He and people who have been following me for a while understand that Jamari and I have not had the most pleasant relationship, but in terms of the on-field talent, we'll talk about it off air. In terms of on-field talent, I mean, he was a top 64 player for me. I thought that he was ridiculously well balanced. But there's some other things that had me drop him to day 3,
who
but
did you
there's no
say?
way I would have said he's UDFA.
No, who is this you're talking about again?
Jamari Harris. Like
Okay,
Jamari's a really good player.
okay, interesting. I'm excited to hear. Was
That's
he at the
that's a
Senior Bowl?
shrine.
Shrine Bowl.
Yeah,
And did you go to the Shrine Bowl?
I did. I got to meet him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm expecting to.
Yeah, this is some boots on the ground type shit. I mean, people who end up following the overall like the streams and stuff, they know the
Yeah.
goods.
Okay.
But yeah, we're gonna leave that for after the fact. But
Interesting.
I mean, overall, I think my favorite pick ended up being Femi because of the leadership, because of the high ceiling, and because of the fact that you got an extra pick out of it. Or, essentially you ended up retooling your draft capital, which I'm always a big fan of. My least favorite was Chloe Mullings because of the quantity of running backs. But I thought if you include the UDFA class, I mean, there's some areas, especially the edge rusher, that you could have developed more, but damn good talent. Hard to get
Yeah.
much better.
I think it's overall like I'd probably give it a B plus just
Yeah,
because there's just some. It's just such an up and down class. It's just like
sure.
incredible. What are you thinking? Another great 2-3 pick stretch. It's just a
Right.
weird class, but for the talent that we got, I feel like Ayomanor really saved it in the fourth
Mm,
round. I
mm,
think the Restrepo pick. I don't think the Titans fan base has ever been more excited for an undrafted free agent, and I really
yeah,
think like I would be shocked if he didn't end up making the team.
I
Really
agree.
would be shocked. Just a football player, man. I really do not. I really do like the UDFA class too. Like I said, kind of the 4 or 5 guys, maybe 6 guys we highlighted. I think really have a good chance to make the team with how
Yeah.
weak we are at certain positions. For me personally, least favorite pick. I know I said it's either Marcus Harris or Chim. Like I
Yeah.
really, you personally, where do you, if we don't take Chim at 103, where do you like say he's not on our board? Where do you
Okay.
think Chim gets taken? Like what range?
Ooh. See, that's the thing. It's like, is the NFL in cahoots with the agreement that Chim is a top 150 player? Or was this just one team that had their eye on him? For me, I think he would have been in that like 167 territory. Would have
Yeah.
been a very realistic range for him to go. And 103 was a bit early. Like that's where my mind would end up going to.
Yeah, I'm sitting here. I'm not going to bring it up, but like my mind just goes to like who was sitting there at 103 that we could have
Yeah.
gotten instead,
Yep.
and
Lots of players.
we probably could have. I would be shocked if we would have gotten 120.
Mm,
I just remember like being so hyped for that pick because it was his first pick of day 3,
right.
and I just kind of ruined the mood for a little bit until we got to 136. That saved the day. Saved
Yeah.
the day. But I mean, obviously, favorite pick is Cam Ward, so I'm not counting them. But I do think my favorite pick, 136, without a
Yeah.
shadow of a doubt for the rest of the class. He is close, actually, between him and Jackson Slater.
Mm,
But I think you got to give him the edge because he's just so talented.
well,
If he's not a one contract player, like you possibly allude to, which I don't think they would like, because with how many needs this team has and how poor this roster is right now, we already took a little bit of a risk with Kevin
yep.
Winston coming off of an injury. I don't think we're just going to sit here and just throw darts at players that
Big
might
red
make it
flags.
a season or two. I
Yeah.
think they've had to clear them. They had to. They feel really good about them.
Right.
Hopefully, anyway. And if that's the case, which I think it would be, I think this is going to end up one of the best overall selections for value, probably the past. God, I'd say last 5 draft classes, but that's not really saying much with how bad the last 5 classes have been. Maybe even last decade.
Yeah.
And that's crazy because we've done some really good players like Kevin Byard was a fourth, fifth round selection, I believe. Derrick Henry in the second round, arguably best running back in franchise history.
Yeah.
So we've had some good value picks. We won't count the last 5 years because I don't think we really had many good value picks the last 5 years. But I think it will end up probably one of the best 3, 4, 5 value picks past decade. I think could be totally off, but has
Fingers
to
crossed.
be at least. Oh, absolutely.
Fingers crossed, though. I mean, the medicals will really be the telltale sign of whether that would end up coming to fruition. But I mean, again, altogether, a great class. Altogether, great video. By the way, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me on. Hopefully, I didn't trigger your people again in this video.
You know what? That just means extra engagement. And you know, if you're grouchy about it, then too bad. I'm sorry. Took the hour of your life. But we had a great time.
Dude, I'm just a yapper. I know it. I'm sorry. I like talking.
The Yap Bros. Draft Yappers. That's gonna
the Yap Bros like it.
Draft Yap. That'd be fun. That will be like the nickname of our series. I actually might make a playlist for it. But
yeah.
Thank y'all for watching. I probably already ended the video, but we'll see you later. Peace.